Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk a bit more about PLEX and whether we have actually pretty much reached the bottom, or where the bottom could be and where the top could be. What we feel is an equilibrium and a fair price to play for PLEX. Now obviously with the changes that CCP have made over the course of the current months, that PLEX in your account has become a little bit harder, but the price has dropped in order to reflect this. So at the moment, if we were to buy straight off the market, not accounting for taxes, you can PLEX your account for, give or take, 1.2 billion ISK. Now that is pretty good. That's obviously as low as it's been for a good while. And I do remember the times, obviously, when we were at 4.5 million ISK a PLEX, and that was coming out at over 2 billion ISK in order to PLEX your account. Now, obviously with ISK easier to get at times, that's not quite as hard, but obviously with newer players, getting your 1.2 billion ISK to PLEX your account is a lot more manageable. And it also makes the skins cheaper, that anybody that's into their skins that buy it off the store, you can get a decent amount of skins now for obviously less ISK, and that's quite appealing. I know a lot of people do like their skins, despite me having downers on them in general. So I do read all the comments that are posted on the channel in regards to any subject, pretty much. If you write a comment, I read it. And the last PLEX video that I did got quite a lot of comments. Again, it's quite a subject, PLEX. Obviously, as I said at the start, a lot of people use this for a lot of different reasons. And some of the comments were very, very interesting. And I'm always really taken back how some people are so assured in why PLEX is doing what it's doing, and that the general it's doing it because of this, or it's very narrow in your general conception of PLEX. Now the general question I asked last time is obviously, why is PLEX dropping? And that came across, I must have had 30-40 different reasons, all from different people, on it's dropping because. And I always find that fascinating, because PLEX is such an interesting game item that there are so many factors affecting it, that to be so assured that you know exactly why it's dropping, I always find incredibly fascinating. And it's one of the great things about having a YouTube channel, that I get to put these questions out there for people to speculate and answer on. And I do find it fascinating, some of the answers that do come back. As I said, PLEX is incredibly complex in regards to where it's going. And that's because there are so many factors involved. We've got people ratting, which has been nerfed. So obviously less people ratting, less people with less ISK. And we've had the Oracle nerf, which basically is many people's alt accounts run the Oracle. So again, that has obviously meaning less people buying PLEX off the market, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's less people actually buying PLEX with real cash in order to sell it. So the fact that prices are dropping, you would have actually thought, well, again, there's an equilibrium to be reached. If the same amount of people are buying it but less people are using it, then you would expect the price to drop. Now, we obviously have botting accounts, we have deals, we've had quite a lot of, again, we've got quite a few spikes here where people have obviously purchased quite a lot of PLEX all at once. Now on top of that, we've got the huge war going on at the moment where people will be cashing in PLEX, alliances will be cashing in PLEX, but potentially they've held in order to free up ISK in order to be able to fund their war efforts. And again, that's made more people come back to the game that hadn't been in for a while, and the vast majority of these that haven't been back for years, I'm sure, probably use PLEX in order to get a month's worth of play time in order to participate in some of the action that's been going on there. So again, you've got extra demand there with people coming in. You've had people potentially or saying that they're leaving the game because mining's been obliterated, I think is the best way of putting it. You've had moon mining in high sec, where obviously people would make a general decent amount of ISK from that, which has been got rid of completely. Obviously you've had the global lockdown where people have had more time to play games, so you've had people obviously investing time, which some of them will be PLEXing their accounts, other people will be paying real life cash for that. And again, there's probably several other factors that I just have completely glossed over, forgotten about, or just can't remember. And that's why I find PLEX fascinating, because obviously I use it quite a lot to PLEX my characters, and with the price going down as it has been, it's obviously costing me a little bit of this to run my accounts. Now obviously there has been a lot of free XP as well over the course of several months, and obviously including the current event that we have at the moment, where it's about 100,000 skill points, give or take. 100,000, if we put that into ISK terms, that's 67 million ISKs worth there. So again, people are extracting, and I've got a character with about 150 million skill points, and at a certain point it just becomes, there's just not that much left to train. I've got all battleships, all cruisers, all frigs, support, hacks, recons, all at level 5 basically for every race, and it gets to, shield skills are pretty much maxed out, rather than just finishing off some which are 2 weeks for something that isn't really that much for an extra 2%. The vast majority of weapons are all at 5. In fact, everything under capital ship basically is either at 5 maxed or is at level 4, because the extra 2% just isn't worth it, and that's basically across the board. No industrial skills, no science skills, and it gets to that point where it's like, well, what else do I train on my character? I struggle nowadays to actually find anything that is worth training where I'm not gaining such a minuscule amount of benefit from it, but it just doesn't seem worth it. So I stopped training the account basically, just use it to play as a free account, and that was the character that I would class as my main as well. Now, yes, I could keep training the minuscule amounts of increase that I'd get for getting a specialization skill for an extra 2% damage, and yeah, it could help out in the odd situation, but let's face it, 2% isn't really going to make or break a fight the vast majority of the time. So I don't know if there's a lot of other people again in this situation where it's got to the point where it's like, well, I've been playing for X amount of years and I don't need really any more skill points. So again, that may be a factor that the game, yes, there's always stuff to train if you want. I could train all the capitals, I could train all the super caps, I could train all the capital weapons, etc. But I don't fly capitals a great deal, or pretty much at all. And again, I have another character who is able to do that. So are a lot of other people getting to that point where there just isn't that much left to train if you've been playing for 5, 6, 7 years, where you've kind of maxed all the important skills where you want, and yeah, pretty much at 5 where it counts. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that probably around the 240 mark is as low as it's pretty much going to go, and I think that's because we will reach an equilibrium of where people aren't prepared to part with real life cash for not enough ISK returned basically. And although ISK technically is becoming worth more, it's not becoming worth enough to justify. Now if we look at the graph, we can see there is less PLEX currently being consumed than there was in April to June, and it has dropped off quite a lot. Now obviously with CCP potentially going to be reversing some of the changes, that might come back as more people start plexing their alt accounts, but again, it remains to be seen. So yeah, I do enjoy the debate here, and I did find the last video fascinating that I did on this, with so many people assured of why they know why plexes are dropping, and that yeah, they are obviously dead fast right. I found that fascinating. So yeah, that's where I am. I think we are pretty much at the bottom of where we're going to go for PLEX. Be interesting to see how well this video ages in the coming months, and whether I am right or wrong. So yeah, we'll timestamp in history. It is the 16th of February, so watch this space and let's see where we go from here. So with that, thanks for listening, thanks for your time, and fly safe.